Hey everybody, it's Dr. David. How are you doing today? So, I have been getting some questions about the booster COVID vaccine that there's been a lot of confusion, booster confusion that's going on. And so people are asking, what is this all about? So, let me give you the lowdown. So, as you may have heard, the FDA and then followed by the CDC, with some discrepancy as to who is eligible, have now put forth a third dose, a booster vaccine. As of right now, it's only available for people who have had the doses of the Pfizer vaccine. There has not been discussion about additional doses for the other vaccines. Okay, so what does this mean, and why is this even being considered? So, as you may have also heard, that protection from the vaccine has been declining over time. People who had received vaccines back in January, February, March, over 6 months ago, seem to be losing their protection over time, which is kind of common. And we do lose our protective antibodies over time for different things. We know that when for other vaccines that it's taken 3, 4, 5 doses for boosters and for people to have some of those long-term immunity. So in and of itself, it's not surprising to me that a third dose is being offered. Now, of course, the question is, do people need this? And it certainly does seem, because we are seeing breakthrough infections. We know that the overwhelming majority of people who are getting breakthrough infections are not people who are at risk. They're younger people. They're more getting colds and flus. But we are also hearing that there are some people who are getting very sick, and those are mostly people who are older and who have chronic conditions. So, as you know, I am one who very much advocates for choice. And this provides a choice to people who are at greater risk, who may feel not comfortable with the level of protection they may or may not have right now. Now, of course, how much of the protection do people have? Most people don't know. Now, of course, as some of you may know, we've been checking antibody levels in our office. There's a number that's called for a semi-quantitative antibody that we are able to check. Now, we do not know which numbers are considered protective, and these are also antibodies that would be formed from when people catch a natural virus. But I've seen enough of these values to enough say, hey, that's not a very robust number. For oh wow, that's an impressively robust number. So at least I'm starting to get a sense of like who may or may not be at risk of having lower immunity in the first place. But in terms of the people who are eligible, people who are age over 65, people who have chronic conditions, heart conditions, lung conditions, kidney conditions, immunodeficiencies, hyperinflammatory conditions, as well as people who are obese, diabetes, etc. Now, there was also some debate as to what about other at-risk people based upon their job. The CDC said, hey, those people can get it as well. People like teachers, frontline workers, healthcare providers, daycare staff, etc. And you may have heard that the FDA was saying no. Now, this also brings some very interesting things up for me, because first of all, I know that there are people and who believe that a lot of what's been going on with the push for vaccines is just surely for financial purposes to try to help out big pharma. And to me, this is an interesting side to that, because if that was the case, then they would have just gone ahead and said, hey, everybody go out and get it after 6 months. And that's not what they did. So I do want to put some credit to the fact that they are saying, hey, no, everybody should not be going out to get a booster vaccine right now. But at the same time, there may be some people who are more at risk for getting the bad disease that they may still want to do it. So, okay, choice. That's what this is all about. This is what many of us have been asking for all along, is for having choice. And this is actually something that's being offered as a choice. So what is my take on this? Well, certainly anybody who is at risk, it certainly makes sense, who is at risk, makes sense that they would want to contemplate this. And especially if people did not have problems with the first couple of vaccines, and especially since we had heard that the second vaccine for some people was a little bit more in terms of side effects and others sometimes a lot more. But I would also say that if a person didn't have a problem with taking the first 2 doses of the vaccines, the likelihood that there would be a significant risk of a negative reaction happening with this, I think, would be really, really unlikely. Of course, we don't have a lot of data to support that, but in terms of the trials that have been done, they did not show any specific in the trials. So that's obviously good. So, from my perspective, I realize that there's this ongoing debate about the vaccines, and that's not what this conversation is about today. But as people knows where I stand on this. But at the same time, in terms of the people who are eligible because they're 6 months removed from this, I think in the risk versus benefit conversation that there is weight to be led to getting the booster shot for those people. I actually did take the third dose myself. Because as many of you know, I chose to get the vaccine early to begin because I don't have a spleen after my spleen was removed after having the tumor removed out of my pancreas, and they had to take the spleen along with that. So I was actually one who wasn't necessarily considered a booster. It was considered a third dose for people who are at risk because of the level of immunocompromise. I don't know for sure how level of compromise that I have, but I know that without a spleen, I know that I am not able to fight off certain infections, as well as especially secondary bacterial pneumonia types of infections, as other people. And that's why I made the decision to go forward with that. And of course, taking all of the immune support protocol stuff that we always recommend before and after every vaccine as well. So at least I wanted to put some information out there. I know there'll be more discussion of this coming out. We will, of course, get more data as people do choose to get this booster, and we'll know really how protective or how much more protective it is. But there it is for you. So have a great day.